God clearly answered your prayer. Like he was going to give you lunch.
Yep.
Like just because it wasn't in the way that you wanted.
That's the problem is like, you've got to be open to all
You got to be
ways.
open to receive.
Got to be open to receive. I think that's one thing that we've learned.
Welcome back to the Maeband podcast. I'm Holly.
And I'm Bryan.
Yes.
So I actually get to choose the topic today. So one thing that I've wanted to talk about for a while, and I think is important, is the answers to prayer. There's been so many, like how many times have we talked to somebody and they're like, a lot of people don't believe in God, which is fine. I think that is the one way that I think that I can show to myself that I know there is a God. Right. Because we've had so many experiences that, like, especially as a couple, we've had so many experiences as a couple to answered prayer. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like something that I can never deny. Well, obviously, you go back to how my back was healed. But even before that, there's been so many instances where like there's just been these random, too crazy for coincidence, like little miracles that have happened. Like what is the greatest prayer that you've ever had answered? Is there one out there that you're like, oh, okay, I know the God exists because of this?
Prayer I ever had answered. Two come to mind.
Okay.
The first one was Maeband. I was just praying, and I don't know if it was an answered prayer, but it just came during prayer.
So what were you praying when you said it?
It was just in the middle of the night, and it was just kind of like, I was praying. I couldn't sleep. I was pregnant. My prayers are kind of like meditative prayers. So then I stop and I'm just meditating or waiting for an answer or whatever. And then all of a sudden it was just like this floodgate opened of like, this is what you're going to do. Like, because I had thought about the idea from the pants, like for Maeband. I had thought about that, like when I was looking in the mirror probably a week earlier, and I was like, oh, this would be really cool. I could do this, and maybe I can have my mom make me one. Right. So then I hadn't thought about it again. And then all of a sudden in the middle of the night, it was like, boom, like taken back to like, remember that? You're going to do it. It's going to be named Maeband after Maylee. I was pregnant with my daughter Maylee, and it's going to be like Maeband. And it was like, I knew exactly how to do it and what to do. And it was like this whole plan, like laid out for me.
It was really interesting just watching it from the onset, because it was just like when she would get the, what's it called? The prototypes. And she's like, no, that's not it. That's not it. It was just weird because it's like, she knew exactly what it was before it happened. Yeah. I remember when your mom was making them, and then when factories would make them, she's like, that's not it. That's not right.
Which was actually really frustrating because it was like so clear and I knew exactly what to do. And like, God told me to do this, right? But there were a lot of crappy things that happened, like a lot of adversity and a lot of like hard things. And so, I mean, that just goes to show, like, just because God tells you to do something doesn't mean it's going to be easy.
An easy path. Yeah. In fact, I would probably say, if God tells you to do something, you're like, oh, hell. That's typically been my experience. Like when I've had an answer, or not even just an answer, but it's just like, hey, God's prompting you to do something. I just know. I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go. This is going to be, the reward at the end is going to be amazing. Mm-hmm. But leading up to that reward is going to be probably hard. That's my experience.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's like just life in general, right? I mean, if you want this end result, it's like your goal, like maybe like, you're exercising, like, you have this end result for like a nice body or whatever, and you start exercising and eating right? That's not easy. No. It's not easy to get to that body that you're trying to achieve, or to get to that health that you're trying to achieve, or
it's like that quote we always say to each other, that from Les Brown: if you do what is easy, your life will be hard. If you do what is hard, your life will be easy. And that's just the truth. I mean, obviously there are little caveats in there, but yes, if you live your life in an easy way, it's going to be hard. And if you live your life in a hard way, if you're doing all these things that are beneficial to health or finance, whatever it is, like now we are really trying to budget, for our future. And it sucks because I'm like, this sucks. I can't spend anything. Like we make money and I'm like, I just want to buy this. So I can't because I'm trying to budget, and it just sucks. But I know in the long run, it's going to hopefully work out. So, okay. And what's the next one?
The next one was like during the course of your back. Well, obviously your back, I was praying, like my prayer every day, all day long, multiple times a day in the closet was that Bryan would be healed. His back would be healed, and he would be stronger physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Spiritually.
And spiritually. right?
I didn't get the emotionally part.
Maybe, did I say that physically, mentally, and spiritually?
No, you just said spiritually. Not
I
emotionally.
guess I should have added the
You
emotion.
should have added emotionally. You should have added intellectually.
Dang, my mistake. I need to start praying all that again. Like I'll put in like
God fix him.
Yeah, smarter.
Make him better.
Be stronger, smarter, and I'll actually
please bless him with hair.
But during that part, like I woke up and he was sleeping, and I passed by his clothes that he had just done the laundry, and I went into the closet. When I passed by his clothes with just done the laundry, I wasn't very happy with seeing his clothes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he never puts his clothes away. So I go in the closet and I start praying, and then 10 minutes into my prayer, whatever, God says, put his clothes away. I'm like, are you kidding me?
God's
really?
looking out for me.
I'm like, yeah. And it's like, yeah, put his clothes away. And it just keeps coming, this prompt. And I'm like, I will later today, I will. And then it was like, put his clothes away and do it now. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I go, like, fine, God, if you want me to do that, I will. And I get up and I go grab his clothes and I go to put him away, and his clothes are just a mess in his closet and the shelves. And so I'm pulling him out to fold them and put them away nicely. And as I'm pulling him out, I see this his prescription, empty pain pill bottle sitting in there. And he had gotten it like a week.
It was 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Prior.
And it's supposed to be a month long. Yeah. And it was gone. And I was like, oh, that's why. And so I went and showed him and
saved
talked
my
to
life
him.
because I probably would have overdosed because
he was taking so much.
Yeah, I was in so much pain. I was just throwing him down, and it was just it wasn't helping. And so I probably would have. I remember there were several times where my heart would literally just ache after I would take him. I was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm gonna die. And then Holly saved me probably. I know we both have so many instances where we know that there's something out there watching out, right? There was one I remember I quit a long time ago being a cop because it was hard on me and hard on the family, mostly hard on the family because I just wasn't home. And then I quit and I started doing some other things and I quit for the money. I was like, oh, I'll make better money here. And anyway, things started falling apart in my life. And so I was like, I'm going back to being a cop because it's stability. That was stability for me because I get a stable paycheck. I got insurance, all these other things. I remember just thinking, I'm going back. And I know Holly didn't really want me to because... Well,
I don't know if it's really wanted you to, but I kind of
just knew it wasn't right.
Yeah. I felt like it wasn't the right decision, but, and it's funny because you kept telling me pray about it, Holly, pray about it. Tell me what the answer is. And I knew the answer, but God was pretty clear. He needs to get the answer on his own. We obviously know Bryan has an issue with me telling him what to do and control. What? So
yeah.
So that was probably pretty smart. And it's funny that he has an issue with that. And yet he comes to me and is tell me what to do. Yeah.
Sometimes I want it. Right?
But I'm no, I can't. You got to get this answer on your own.
Yeah. But so anyway, I would literally had prayed. That's probably one of the hardest things I prayed for just because, my family's livelihood was at stake and I was just praying. I couldn't get any answers. And I ended up it was one last prayer, right? I was at one last prayer. And I said, if you don't tell me what to do, I'm going to go back. And if maybe I'm missing something, right? That's what I kept thinking. I was like, maybe I'm missing something. So you need to tell somebody to come tell me what I'm supposed to do. Right. And this has been going on for probably months, 3 months, right? I was praying about it and I was talking to all my friends. I was talking to Holly. I was talking to my family. I couldn't get a feeling because I get pretty good feelings on what I should do and what I shouldn't do.
Unless you really want something.
Unless I really want something.
then you get
makes it really hard.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah. So I was like, all right, this is it. I have to, because I was running out of, my certification was about to expire as a cop. So I was like, all right, God, this is one more time. You can tell me what to do. I'm going back if you don't. Tell somebody to tell me what to do. I don't really care at this point. It was probably 15 minutes later. I don't even know, but it was a church thing, temple, whatever. And so I just happened to be walking past. And as I'm going in this door, another guy is walking out, or vice versa. I'm walking out, he's walking in. And then I recognize
Weren't they two, there was the entry was two separate entrances.
Yeah, there's two separate, there's
two
a
separate
wall.
entrances and yeah.
Yeah, there's a wall, then you can walk in and you can walk out here. And so I'm walking out and he's walking in.
Kind of
And I
bumping
look
each other
over.
in like the little hallway.
Yeah. And I just happened to recognize him. I was like, hey, I know this guy. And then he walks up to me. He's like, hey, how's it going? Happened to be somebody who still worked at the police department that I knew. I knew him, I knew him pretty well, not great. And we just happened to see each other. And the first words out of his mouth, he's like, hey, you still thinking about coming back? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, don't do it. I was like, oh my gosh. And then those were his exact words. Just don't do it. And then he just went on this list of why I shouldn't go back. And he was still a cop. He was still there. He was like, don't come back. And I was like, holy cow. And so I go home.
And you were specifically there at this building to pray about this exact thing.
Yep.
Like that's why you went to the temple, to pray about that exact thing and get an answer. And then he happened to be there.
Yeah, he happened to be there. That. And then so I go home and I was like, oh my gosh, Holly, I may have gotten an answer. I'm not sure, but I might have I've been given an answer here.
I remember that.
I'm not very good.
Are you serious?
I'm not very good
right now.
Yeah. And I was serious. I was. I'm like, I'm not very good at this kind of stuff. But which brings me to...
You really didn't know if that was your answer?
I kind of assumed it wasn't the answer I wanted. I wanted to go back. I really did. But I just wanted to make sure it was the right move for my family and for me. And I really wanted to go back. And then obviously... So
that was a brave decision you made.
Yeah.
It was a brave decision. You wanted to go back.
So I wanted to go back, and then I chose not to pursue the life that the business that was falling apart. Yeah. My business was falling apart. And I was like, oh my gosh. Well, it did. It was doing really poorly. Yeah. It was doing bad. And that's why I wanted to go back. I was like, I'm sick of this. I need some stability. And so he's like, no, you can't do this. You got to do this. And so I was like, oh, crap. This is hard. Which
I think it would take you to the next prayer, because the business was super hard and we had no money. And you were always finding money because you were a landscaper. Oh, yeah. And you were always finding money.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is several. It was pretty soon after that. I don't even remember. But yeah, I was landscaping. And on occasion, you would find money that people would like put in their pocket and it would fly out or something. And we had no money. Like I would remember I wouldn't eat in the morning. I wouldn't eat at lunch. I would go home and eat dinner because we had no money. And so I was just landscaping, and I remember it was an O'Reilly or AutoZone, whatever. I think it was it was an O'Reilly. I don't know if you know that. That's an auto parts store. And I just happened to be there. And then all these people show up and they start doing this big old barbecue right in the parking lot because they were trying to raise money for something. I don't even know what they were raising money for, but it was insane. It was like this huge Polynesian family. They were barbecuing and it smelled so good. It was so good. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Because I was starving. It was like later in the day and they were trying to raise money.
So didn't have any money for lunch.
Had no money for lunch. And I remember just smelling this food. I was like, oh, it smells so good. It was like barbecue chicken, pork, all this stuff. And I remember praying. I was like, please, God, just let me find like a $20 bill, a 10. I don't care. So I can go buy some of this food because they were trying to raise money. And I was like, please, please, please let me find money. And so I just start going through cleaning the bushes, all the garbage out the bushes, whatever. And then the manager of the store walks up. He's like, hey, do you want some food? I was like, no, I'm good. Because I don't like handouts. And so he's like, hey, no.
We've learned from our life coach, Brian's got quite a bit of a receiving problem. Yeah. he struggles with receiving good from other people.
I do. I really do.
Asking for things.
I don't like asking for things and I don't like handouts. And so this guy's like, hey, you want some food? I can get you some. I'm like, no. He's like, no, really. I can give you, they're using my parking lot. Because we had a pretty good relationship. I had a pretty good relationship with the manager. And he's like, no, I can go get you some chicken, some pork, whatever you want. I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't need it. And then I go back to looking for cash. I'm like picking through the bushes. I'm like, oh, please let me find. I need some food so bad. That was so stupid. And then anyway, I didn't get any food. I come home and I tell Holly about it. And I think your words were like, you idiot. I think that's what she said. So I tell her the story. She just looks at me. She's like, you idiot. And I was like, what? And she's like, I don't know. It was so clear to her.
God clearly answered your prayer. Like he was going to give you lunch. Yep. Like just because it wasn't the way that you wanted.
That's the problem is like, you've got to be open to all
You got to be open to receive.
Got to be open to receive. I think that's one thing that we've learned is because we know a lot of people that live really good lives. We know a lot of people that live kind of crappy lives. One thing that Holly has noticed between all of them is the ones that live good, happy lives are ones that are willing to receive,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's
they're
not that God
willing.
loves them more, which is what that was always my thing. Like, God loves them more than me, blah, 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 saying all these stupid things. But it was, you look at them, they are willing to receive.
They're open to receiving. Like if you handed them cash, they would take it.
Yeah.
Even if they have $1 million in the bank and like someone, you know, like they would be like, oh, thank you. And they would receive it and like gratefully.
Yep.
And they're giving too. It's not like they're selfish, but
Yeah.
like it goes both ways. Like you got to be giving. You also got to be willing to receive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they are like great receivers. And
most of
they'll
them have
ask
a
for
positive
things.
attitude.
Yeah. And they'll ask for things like
Yeah.
if they,
Even
you know,
things they don't really necessarily need.
yeah. Or if they need help, you know, like
Yeah.
they're willing to ask, even if it like, and that's a struggle, Bryan. Like if he thinks it might put someone out, like even just a tiny bit.
And I
like,
still, to this day,
doesn't want to ask.
I don't like putting people out. I don't like people waiting on me. I don't know. It's a weird thing that I have. I just don't, and so, yeah, I have a really hard time asking for help because I'm like,
yeah, like you're there going, push,
yeah,
push, back off.
yeah.
And then you're like, why does my life suck?
And God's probably there like, you idiot.
Do you see all these people trying to help you and give you things?
Yeah. So like basically what I really wanted to get out of this episode of the podcast is because I feel like there's probably people out there that are like, God's not answering my prayers, right? I'm not, because I've had that and I still have that to this day. I'm like, oh, I'm not getting prayers answered. But I think the one thing is that I basically wanted to say is what Holly was saying is be open to receive any answer that he gives you. Basically, because in my experience, a lot of the times the answer he gives you is the one that you don't necessarily want. You know, it's just that's happened so many times where I'm just like, oh, this is what I want. Please just tell me what to do. And then it's the exact opposite. I'm like, all right, whatever. But I know enough now. I have enough faith to know that my best interest is his best interest, right? And so it's not like he's there. He's just this big bully in the sky.
Yeah, that's what he used to think. Like God just tells me to do this because he knows I don't want it. And so he just wants me to do everything that I don't want in my life.
Because that's been I think it's just because like when you get in this winning mode, like you get going in life and it's just like, man, nothing's working out the way I expect or with the way I want. There may be things working in the background on your behalf. Like that's just something I've experienced, you know, and I'm not saying everybody out there, this amazing thing is going to happen if things are going your way. But I know there are things around me working. It's a process. It's a huge process. And so the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because of that, to be able to receive and to know that like, even if you don't believe in God, like I think it's important to be open to receive, right? That's not even I think that's one of these universal laws where you should be open to receive and open to give. I think it goes, like she said, it goes both ways. But I think even if you're atheist, whatever, a different religion, I don't care what religion. I think that's a really important thing is to be open to receive and to expect it, to have faith in it.
And
right?
actually to like not be in debt, you need to be open to receive more than you give.
Yep.
Like, I mean, it's great to give and you should be giving, but you need to receive more than what you can give. And like in the cycle of things, if you're able to receive more than what you give, you're able to give more. And it's just like a big cycle, like receive, give.
Receive, give, receive.
And if you're not receiving, then you're going to have nothing left to give.
Yeah, so that's basically what I want to say. Is like, I know that I didn't want to get like on a preachy podcast, but I just know that there's so many things that have happened in my life that are just like, wow, they were like really monumental in our lives. Right. And so I'm just like, man, this is amazing. This is amazing. This is amazing. So if there was somebody out there that was like questioning or struggling with something, maybe that's your answer, right? Have faith in God but have faith in the process. Have faith in whatever the answer may be, because it may be the exact opposite of what you're hoping for. Mm-hmm. So have faith and be open to receive whatever the answer is. So whatever that answer is, like, oh, okay, not what I wanted, but I'm going to go with it. So
that's right.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, comments.
And any stories of cool story, prayer stories.
We'd love to hear from you.
Yep.
And thanks for watching Maeband.
See ya.